Hello, welcome to Recentered, episode 23. My name is Gary from the YouTube channel Immerse Robot, and joining me as always is Rog, also known as Fleet Roger, and Lee from the YouTube channel DAZEDNETIC'S. And this week we're all in the same room, believe it or not. So we're going to have an in-person podcast for the first time ever. But let's have a quick catch up with everyone. Rog, how are you, mate?
Not bad, not bad. This is looking far too professional for my liking, though. I don't know what's going off here.
Yeah, we're going to have a photo of our little setup here that we've got. We've all got independent microphones. We've set it all up. So hopefully the audio quality will be okay. We'll see how we get on. But Lee, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. If my voice is slightly off, my throat seemed to be on one a little bit. Nothing to do with the dentist that I went to earlier in the week and got robbed for £70 for a filling.
Oh dear.
But, well, not literally robbed, but yeah, for yeah, just for that reason. But 70 quid for a filling now, apparently, not 25 quid.
No. When was it 25 quid?
I thought it used to be. If anyone, let me know in the comments. I'm sure before this April it was £25 for a checkup, and that included a filling. But now that's on tier 2, so that's 70 odd quid. And tier 3's £300. So I don't know what you get for that, whether you get to look like Simon Cowell or what, I don't know. But when they said to me it was £70, I was like, can I have a mirror? Because I just want to check that it's not gold that they put in for that price. But yeah, so apart from that, doing good.
Doing good, all good. Well, the reason we're in person this week is because Lee and Roger have come round to try out the Pimax Crystal, so we'll be getting into some impressions on that a bit later on. But before we get into all of that stuff, so we'll probably have a bit of a discussion on the Pimax Crystal as well as some other hardware and all of that kind of stuff. Hopefully it will lead on to some good discussion. But we've got plenty of games to get into this week, as well as a little bit of news, but not too much. So why don't we dive right in with it, which is... The first one we want to talk about is, of course, one of the main releases the past week or so, and that is... Oh, no, sorry. No, we'll leave that one till last. Sorry, I was going to jump on to Synapse straight away then. We're going to Hubris, which has been another big release anyway on PSVR 2 and on Quest 2. So this is one that came out... on PC originally, and we played through it. I played through it. Rog, you played some as well, and then we got keys for it on PSVR 2 and Quest 2. So Lee and I have played it on Quest 2. Rog has played on the PSVR 2. So I'll go over to you, Rog, first on this one then. Hubris, what do you think?
Well, we know I didn't like this on PC when it first came out. There were a few too many issues, mainly the grind, as well as quite a few bugs. Before I even got off the ship, I was constantly falling through the floor, so that was a struggle for me to even get onto the planet in the first place. Not a problem anymore, that's been fixed. And the developers have been very proactive in putting out patches for this in the meantime on PC. But yeah, on PSVR 2, I mean, it looks nice. It looks nice in that headset. There's reprojection, but leave that aside. There's the OLED really makes it pop again. I know we've gone over this time and time again, but you get out onto that planet's surface and it really does look really nice. I've actually played further into it than I did on the PC, because the PC one I had so many problems with, I just ended up ditching it. And I wasn't having too bad a time with it, in all honesty. I was enjoying I was enjoying it, which I definitely couldn't say that for the PC version. And I got way past where I'd got to on the PC version, and then I started running into bugs again. And it's like I fell through the floor. Oh, fine, okay, it's a one-off. And then 10 minutes later, it happened again, and then it happened again. And each time I was losing anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes worth of playtime. And then the fourth time, I was just climbing up. I was in like a warehouse room. I was climbing up one of the shelving units to see if there's anything on the top. Oh, nothing there. Let go to drop to the floor, and my head dropped to floor height, and then I died again. It's like, oh, come on. You know, this problem existed in the PC version at launch. This should not be an issue now. Yeah. And it's annoying, because I was wanting to carry on playing it, because with the PC version, one of the issues I had as well was when you first get to the crafting station, the 3D printer, for the first time, you had to get way too many, go and collect way too many things to put into the printer to upgrade your gun. And it just became this scavenger hunt, to the point where I was actually missing components that I just couldn't find. And I know at the time I know Mac in VR had exactly the same problem. Ian Higton turned it off with the quote of, right, I've had enough of this.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember that. Yeah.
But they've drastically rebalanced that, so that's not an issue anymore. So there's not this annoying sticking point there. And yeah, I was having a decent time, and then it just kept killing me again and again and again by falling through the geometry. And I've not gone back since. So it's like, I'll wait to see if there's yet another patch and then go back into it, because it was good enough that I wanted to keep playing this time, where with the PC version at launch, it wasn't. But yeah, at the moment, I'm waiting for a patch before I go back in.
Yeah, I think I had a better time on the PC version than you, but we shared a lot of the same complaints, to be honest. And
sorry, is this my footage? What you're showing now?
go on. Yeah, probably is. Yeah,
I think I do die quite a lot on this part. That's why I'm trying not to giggle at. I think it's this bit. Oh, there you go. Look.
There we go. Yeah,
you're welcome, everybody.
Yeah, I just got the So I can't remember who sends me footage for all of this stuff that I'm showing, but it's either Lee or Rog anyway.
Yeah,
so yeah, this one's that. Yeah. But yeah, I quite enjoyed the PC version, but there were definitely problems with it, definitely bugs, and falling through the geometry was one of the bigger ones. And but yeah, so we got it on Quest 2 as well. Lee and myself played the Quest 2 version. I'm not playing through it again. Played all the way through and on PC, and I'm not going to do it again. I don't want to play the whole game again, although I had an okay enough time with it. But I wanted to go into the Quest 2 just to see what it looked like. And it looks good. I mean, this is probably one of the best looking Quest 2 games that I've seen. The resolution's not fantastic, and it does struggle in places with performance. I don't know if you noticed as well, Lee.
I had a few glitches.
Yeah, a few drops here and there.
In distance, it looks like it's kind of like foveated rendering, but it's like a jaggedy, blurry type. Right in the real far distance, you can see where they've like cut it down, which is really weird to look at.
There was a weird thing as well on the hands, where I noticed it where you're going through the water. If you look down at your hands, when you're moving your hands through the water, you'll notice like a weird blocky kind of outline on your hands. I don't know if that's something to do with some kind of rendering trick that they're doing to up it, but it looked really good anyway. For a Quest 2 title, there's no complaints in terms of how it looks. And also, it felt a little bit less buggy than when I played it originally on the PC VR. But I only played about half an hour in the Quest 2, honestly, so I'll just talk about that. And I think it was it seems like a good enough game, and one which we don't get enough of. This type we don't get enough of on the Quest 2, in my opinion. I like these sort of single player kind of games, these adventures that you can progress through.
We said that on the way down, didn't we, Rog? One about like this and Red Matter 2. And,
especially on sort of Quest, there's nothing of that sort of scope, is there?
No.
I know I've sort of complained about Hubris in the past and everything, but I think you've got to give credit to the developers for sticking with it and continuing to update it. And I've not played the Quest 2 version, but from the video I saw of it has impressed me that they've even got it running on a mobile chipset.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. I mean, it looks good, and really, I mean, there's definitely differences. Of course, there's differences when you look at that first section where you've got that hologram of that person that comes out and is describing the story, basically. Initially, you can tell that looks completely different on the PC as to how it looks on the Quest 2, but that's okay, and it looks good enough. The water doesn't look quite as good, of course. We shouldn't really compare it to the PC version, I suppose, because it's completely two different types. But it's a great looking Quest 2 game. But what did you think of the game overall, Lee? Anyway?
I was going to rage quit at one point, because the first part, I wouldn't say annoyed me, but or I wouldn't say I got bored, but it was like it's introducing you to all the parkour and the climbing stuff. I'm not a big fan of climbing anyway. So that's the only thing I did find buggy with it, was climbing. Sometimes it wouldn't put your hands in the right places, or it'd stretch your arm so it looks like 14 feet long, and then it'd drop me off. So sometimes like that was the only thing that I really struggled with bug-wise. I didn't drop to the floors or anything like that, but it was just the initial start of jumping in the water, shooting a few squids, getting those weird, I'm not going to say what they look like, things that you chuck across to rappel across to another area, to jump in the water, to climb up again and do the same again. And I thought, this is about third or fourth time I've done this. I'm getting a bit fed up of doing it, but then I persevered through and actually got into the station a little bit. And I'm starting to enjoy it a bit more now. The weird egg things jumping all over my face, frightening me to death. And the other thing I'm struggling with is, you can probably see on this video, is jumping, trying to jump on a pipe. I spent about way too long. There were way more edits I had to cut out of that, of me dying continuously. But As it looks, yeah, it's quite visually, it's quite impressive for the Quest 2. You do kind of stand around and look around and see how pretty things look. It's just sometimes if there's a big distance, like I spoke to Gary, it does look like foveated or it's slightly jaggy and not quite clear. But as for gameplay, yeah, I don't know whether it's the greatest game I've ever played, but it's, like you said, it's one of the few experiences that we've got on the Quest 2 like this. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm getting more into it as I get into it.
Yeah, just quickly as well on the prices. So the Quest price is £22.99 and $29.99 cross-buy. So you get it on the Rift store as well, do you, with that as well? So yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, I didn't know it cross-buy.
Yeah. So you can try the PC version as well, yeah. And then PSVR 2, £24.99 and $29.99 as well. So, yes, weird little increase on the PSVR 2 version, but just a couple of pounds. And then it's same in the US dollars. But anyway, whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and for what it is, and if it plays pretty much the same, or they've improved some of the bugs on the Quest 2 version, if I continue to play through that, then I won't.
It's got a bit of shooting, it's a bit of parkour, a bit of climbing. If you're into those type of things, then you should quite like it. Plus a sci-fi story to it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, the other one that we want to talk about, we got a key for as well, is Broken Spectre on the Quest 2. And Rog played a little bit of this. This is by Games by Stitch, and it's £8.99 over here in the UK and $11.99 in the US. Rog, what do you think of this?
Well, I actually played through it in one sitting. It's about an hour and a half long. Basically, it's described as a cosmic horror game, so take that as you will. I won't go into the story too much other than to say you're playing as somebody who's looking for their father who disappeared on a mountain. And you've gone back to this mountain despite sort of reservations from another family member not to go looking. It's basically the VR equivalent of a point-and-click adventure. I'm really struggling with this one because it's not an expensive game. There's something there that I wanted to like, but there are so many issues with it. The first up, well, you can use hand tracking or you can use controllers to play, and I opted for the controllers despite the game saying, this is really best played with hand tracking. No game on Quest at the moment is best played with hand tracking. You just can't convince me otherwise. Movement is node based, so it's basically you see an outline of where you're going to appear and you just teleport there. Rotation snap turn, although I suppose you could just stand in place and turn around, so it's not too big a deal, I guess. But the object interaction is some of the weakest I've seen in VR. Right, just to give you an example, at one point you need to dig something out of the snow, and so you find yourself a shovel. To dig in the snow, apparently all you have to do is hold the shovel in front of your face and waggle it backwards and forwards in front of your face, and that digs. And it's just bad. It just really it's not good. To say that how limited it is in sort of waiting, like there's no locomotion and snap turn and everything, and it's an adventure. You'd think the interactions would be massively important. That's really what they need to focus on, story aside, and it's just not good. And once you start seeing problems, I started looking for problems, if in all honesty, because some of them were just staring you in the face. Like at one point you're inside like an RV, a wagon thing, and you look out the window and It's the worst skybox I've ever seen in VR. It literally looks like, if you watch an old TV program where they've filmed inside of a house on a stage, on a set.
Oh, right.
And if you look through the window, you can tell there's just like a billboard with a painted bit of scene. Yeah. It literally looks like that. You can see the background, what's supposed to be a forest, is literally painted on a board a metre away outside the window. And it's like, And I know it's a Quest, and you've got to put the detail where you can and where it's important, but it just sort of looked really bad. It's just not good, and I kept having problems interaction wise through the game. There's one point where you basically And spoilers here, sort of, because there's not really solutions. It's just obvious is what you've got to do. But you need to get snake venom by getting your hand bitten, and you show them this on a photograph. To collect the venom, you need to get bitten by a snake.
Right.
And handily along this path, there's a nice little ornate box with a snake living in it. So,
Right.
so it's like, okay, then put your hand in the box. Nothing happened. Take my hand out of that. Nothing. No, can't interact with anything else. And for a couple of minutes, I'm like, how do I get the snake to... So I'm just stood outside wondering. And I sort of just gesture in frustration, and all of a sudden there's a sound effect, and my hand's been bitten. And it's like, what triggered that? You know, because purposely trying to get it to happen just didn't work. There's another bit. I would say if you're an animal lover, there's a bit in it what really isn't. It's not necessary really, because you're collecting parts for a ritual you've got to do, and the snake venom's part of it.
Is that the bit on the trailer where they show this trapped goat or something?
No, that's okay. There's a goat that's sort of merged into the mountainside, and that's a bit sort of gross. Right. No, basically, but do you think really getting something to kill an animal so you can then collect its unborn fetus to use in a ritual is necessary? I don't know.
No.
I think it might upset. It didn't upset me at all, but I couldn't help but feeling that it's gonna not be a nice thing for some people, but it is very cartoony.
Yeah.
So it's not realistic, but again, I don't know. There's some parts towards the end of it, some of the scenery has got a really good sense of scale, and it did impress me, but at the same time, I instantly thought, I want to be able to be walking through here and walking around and taking this scale in, these massive statues and things. And I thought that would be good to walk through, but it's just, push forward to teleport, and it's like, it removes the immersion. It breaks it. Yeah. And it's sort of such a shame. I mean, if you're into this sort of cosmic horror, so the only thing what really springs to mind with that description for me is something like Cthulhu or something like that sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, if you like horror stuff, you might get something out of this. I don't want to say it's bad. It just needs more time on it, and people who really want to take the time to fix all the problems and put the small details in and get things right and get the interaction right. So yeah, I mean, it's an hour and a half. It's £9. There's worse things out there. It could have been decent. Yeah, I think, but it needed care and attention, and it hasn't got it.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer, I don't know if this was at the Metagaming Showcase, this one, or was it the upload? I can't remember now where this was shown first, but the trailer looked okay, but it looked a little bit more, maybe more substantial than an hour and a half that I thought. Although, like you say, the price reflects it anyway. So, yeah.
Is the trailer actually showing free movement there? I'm sure it looked like.
It looked like you're moving through the environments, yeah, on certain, yeah.
I mean, have I totally missed
check the options, Rog?
I swear I looked in the options. Do you know what? Who knows? But some of the scenery,
it does, yeah.
Some of the scenery looks like it's not designed for smooth locomotion.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong on that, I absolutely sincerely apologise.
Comment below.
Yeah,
be as vicious as you like.
Yeah,
it's something they plan on adding in the future. Sometimes they do that, don't they? Just to get the game out if they're not. Time to finish things. Sometimes they had the smooth locomotion. There's another game that
that one that we spoke about the other week. What is it? Beyond the Cold something. They added that. They've added that in now. Smooth locomotion. Yeah, it's a lot better. We'll maybe you need to check that because the trailer definitely shows it, doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. Okay. But anyway, the other one that you've been playing, Rog, is Sea Smash VR on the PSVR 2. Another one, pretty basic in terms of like graphical style and stuff like that. This is a remake of an older game, is that right?
It's an old Dreamcast game apparently, which I'd never heard of before. Okay. But yeah, apparently an old classic Dreamcast game. Who knew? I've mentioned this before because there is a demo out. So the best thing to do if you've got a PSVR 2 is go and download the demo and try it for yourself. It's basically sort of a bottom ball Arkanoid-ish sort of game, where you're just hitting a ball against the blocks in the background, which move around, get shielded. that's all there is to say. If you know, I wasn't keen on the demo, but the initial demo was 60 FPS reprojected, and for this, where you've got a fast-moving ball, reprojection's not good. However, they have actually now made it a native 90 Hz, 90 FPS, which makes a world of difference. It's so much nicer to play. The only question is, do you like this sort of game? And I think you'll know just by either looking at the video or playing the demo. You know whether you like it or not. For me, it's not really my type of game, but it's made well enough. It's clear enough. The graphics are very simplistic, shall we say, stylized.
Yeah.
But the difficulty level is quite tough in places because each level's timed, and it's one of those games where it looks like you need to spend time to become really proficient in aiming and hitting that ball, because it's some of the targets are not easy to get, especially when you end up with like moving barriers what come in between you and your targets. It can get really tough. And I only played it on I think it's called the Zen mode. So if you fail a level, you just start that level again.
Right.
The normal mode, you can't fail. If you fail, apparently from what the description says, is you start off that entire run of levels again.
Oh, right, okay.
There's no way I could get through an entire series of levels without failing.
No.
Because I failed multiple times, So unless you're really, really intent on becoming skilled and proficient at this, it's a tough one. But like I say, it's made well enough, and there's a demo, and so it's just go and make your own mind up. I've not played the multiplayer. I don't know what the multiplayer sort of things like, how easy it is to get a match, etc. I imagine it might be slightly on the tough side. I don't know how popular this is really going to be, but yeah, I mean
it might be okay right now, depending on, because it's not been out long. But
it's like £24.50 or $30.
Yeah,
maybe a tad too much for what it is really. But yeah, if you want a sort of a sci-fi Tennessee, Arkanoid game, check the demo.
Do you remember Hollow Ball as well? I've thought about going back into that now and again, because I used to really like that game. But then again, that's at a time when we didn't really have a lot of other stuff to play on in VR. So I always remember Hollow Ball being pretty good. And it's got sort of vibes of that, but it's a little bit different, of course.
I mean, I don't think it's not on PSVR 2, is it? But Racket NX. No, it's not Racket NX I'm thinking of.
Racket NX. I don't think that's on PSVR 2 either.
No, that's no. But it's on Quest. If you're a Quest player and you want something like this, check that out.
Yeah, that's a good game as well. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, we've got another one that we can get to before we get to Synapse, actually, and this is one, Lee, you've been playing this, and that is Mindset. This is a little puzzle game, hand-tracked puzzle game, I believe, on the Quest 2. It's for £7.99 over here in the UK. I guess it will be around sort of $10 in the US. We've not got a price on that. But what did you think of this?
Right, well, I've not played loads of it. I struggled with the hand tracking a bit. I think you probably see on the video I'm trying to grab some cogs and I can't grab them and I can't quite place them right. It starts off really weird. I think you're in some kind of plane crash maybe, and you're in a coma. So yeah, it's a lovely light story. And then you can hear a voice talking to you, trying to get you back to the present as such. And then he seems to think in his brain he's got to work out these puzzles for him to get back to real life. So what is basically doing, you've got like a cube in front of you and you're just placing the cogs there and to go from one side to the other, and then it all drops off and then you go to a different area and then they start talking more in the story and you do the same again. But I think it's like 3 levels. It's probably quite of a long story to it. I mean, I've had to cut this bit out because it took me like 45 minutes just to do the first level because I suck at puzzles, which is probably why I got to play it. But yeah, it's just the hand tracking's not the greatest. I did struggle with it, whether that's just me or the lighting situations, but even the backgrounds, it looks kind of cool on the video that I'm watching now, but in the headset they're not the sharpest and they are a little blurry. But I mean, if you like puzzle type things like this where you're putting the cogs on or trying to rotate with your hands, I mean, I suppose with the hand-eye coordination thing it's quite good. And on this one now I had to pull some of the levers down, bought the cogs. I don't know how long it took me to do this one. It was the same again. It took me ages. And that's when I pressed the wrong button and couldn't work out how to get back on the game. But yeah, it's okay. But I mean, I got to the very end, to the third level, and I thought, now I'm really confused on what to do. So I'm going to try and quit the game and have another look. But yeah, I think I would go back to it just to have a look.
Even the thing is, even on the best case situations, hand tracking is still a hassle.
Yeah.
And that's the thing; it's just not quite ready yet. That for this type of stuff.
When you first load up the game, to grip it with your hand, as if you're gripping your hands together, to hold the cube, and then to pinch to grab certain other things. So that's what I was trying to do, but it's still a bit hit and miss. When it worked, to me, it seems to be working quite well at the minute. This is where you see that I look at that a lot and I go, no, I can't do this right. I'm trying to quit the game right now because I don't want to try and work this puzzle out. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of going through the story, and the voice acting is actually pretty decent. But the story just start off a little dark as such. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to have a go if my brain's working right to try and work it out a little bit more. It just tell you when you first load up, it gives you the options of these pegs, certain symbols of them move in different directions, and then you can work out. That's probably what the third one was for me there that I didn't want to do. But yeah, it was okay. It's having great reviews. It's just me what thinks is a bit.
The thing is, if you're not into puzzle games, which is incidentally why we asked Lee to cover this. But yeah, I mean, I think Rogue Ascent, that's the best hand tracking game that I've played, really, and that you do sort of just wish. And you can play it with controllers as well, but that's probably the best way to do it.
So you do what controllers start off with. When you go into the menus, and you've got like these little controllers. Because I was using controllers, I didn't know it was hand tracking, and then it tells you about the hand tracking, and then your controllers disappear. You've got to put them down. You've got to use your hands.
Yeah.
I think when Quest 3 arrives, there's going to be a fair few games to revisit.
Definitely, yeah. I'm hoping so. I hope it really makes a difference, that depth sensor, in order to the accuracy and stuff.
Yeah, especially on something like this. A depth sensor would help massively.
Yeah. Okay, well, now we can get on to the biggest release of the past couple of weeks, and that is Synapse on the PSVR 2. This is a pretty big one. It's by Dreams. It's for £30 over here in the UK and $35 in the US. And this is one that looks great from the trailers. It's a roguelike, and that always puts me off a little bit, but there are some that I really like. Compound is just a fantastic game. Rog, shush. And let's get on to this then. So Roger's been playing this one on his PSVR 2 Synapse. What do you think?
Right. So when I first saw the videos for this, I really wasn't that interested, and I think this could be a problem for the game. If you've only seen the videos of it, do not let the sort of the visuals put you off, because in the headset this really does look cool. So it's like I say, it's a roguelite. There's a basic setup of you're trying to infiltrate and hack somebody's mind to get the plans for like a terrorist attack or something like that. In all honesty, half the time as I'm going through the game, you get like voiceovers every now and again, sort of further in the story, and you're sort of that involved with what you've been doing and what's about to happen or combat that you're in. For a lot of the time, I just wasn't paying much attention to it, but at least it doesn't get in the way. It doesn't stop the game and sort of like break up the flow. So the big thing behind this is the eye tracking and the telekinetic powers you've got, and this is the most badass sort of feeling you've ever had in VR. For the first hour or two playing this, I was absolutely blown away, and I'm thinking, no, game of the year, maybe not. I was just it makes you feel that good.
That's another fisherman's tale.
I described it initially as I described it as like, it's like it felt like you like a John Wick with force powers, basically. A couple of reviews since have both said and put it far more accurately that it makes you feel like if you've ever watched the end of Force Awakens with Vader as he just strolls through that corridor and just decimates everything. That's how it makes you feel. It makes you feel like nothing else ever. And so for the first hour or two, it's like, this is absolutely incredible. Things do fall down a bit, and mainly it's due to the length and the repetitive nature of it. Now, this is a roguelite, but unlike some others, it doesn't change really. It changes the placement of objects and like health regeneration things and the shrines where you can get better, change your guns over and whatever. But the levels remain the same. They don't change. Okay. Yeah. And after you've been through it a fair few times, it starts to grate a little bit. But it's the feeling the game gives you of how powerful you are that really pulls you through. So the first time I played it, I got so far, and then I actually ran out of ammo, and it's like, well, I can't do anything. You can grab the barrels telekinetically and throw them about, and everything's selected by the eye tracking, and it really does work well. It's not 100% flawless, but it's better than any sort of like try to gesture with your hand in the vague direction in the hope you're going to grab the whatever it is you're wanting to grab.
Yeah,
it just works really well. It is. When you get into that proper flow, it is proper magical at points. It's like, this just works, because you are doing that Vader thing, just walking through, gesturing. Enemies are flying all over the place. You're slamming barrels into them. You crush your trigger, and you can feel the resistance on the trigger. You pull the trigger, and the barrel explodes. And against this, sort of black and white sort of landscape, you get this big red explosion. It's just, the colour really pops. It's worth saying that actually, despite the fact that a lot of the game is just black and white, it didn't really register. It didn't annoy me at all. No. Because the stuff what happens, that generally the explosions and everything, and the stuff what you can interact with is very vibrant against that landscape. So it's very obvious what you can interact with, even from a distance. Well, first of all, the first time you die, you basically get taken to like a menu where you can upgrade your perks, persistent perks. As you're playing through, as you do various achievements, that unlocks points that you can then spend on permanent perks. And it varies from the standard stuff, or you can carry more ammo, you might have a bit extra health, that sort of thing. The telekinetic powers are more advanced. Different weapons now spawn, and you can unlock a shotgun and a grenade launcher. And so each time you play through, you do feel more, you can feel that sense of growing power, even though it will start dropping some of the later there's only 4 enemy types, I will say, but some of the harder later main hard enemy will suddenly start appearing earlier on.
Right, okay.
It does ramp the difficulty up there, but it feels like you outpace that difficulty increase. The problem I had with it is I think I chose my perks not wisely, shall we say. Instead of sort of like focusing on a lot of the lower level ones and getting a good spread of different things, I sort of focused on a very few things and went high up the skill tree, and I think I really made a mistake doing that. I think I would advise you sort of go for lots of the lower level ones first.
Yeah.
The most important one being to be able to get one of the early unlocks is you get the ability to be able to grab enemy soldiers and fling them about. You'd need that because that solves the ammo problem earlier on. Although, you also get perks where you can get more ammo, carry more ammo. When you can grab the enemy soldiers, you pull them over towards you, kill them in front. If you kill them in front of you, then that ammo and the extra health is there at your feet, and you can pick it up straight away. Although it feels like there's a slight issue with picking stuff up. You have to be very accurate when you walk over something to collect it. If you're just slightly off to the side, it feels like they're using, like, if you've used Unity or Unreal, the default collision default collision sort of thing for your character is like a capsule. It's rounded at both. It's like a cylinder with rounded at both ends, and it feels like if you're slightly off to one side, the ammo is sliding just underneath the curve of that collision capsule and missing. Right. That's what it feels like. So they need to just broaden that out a bit so it's so you don't miss. You sort of generally get used to it. After an hour or two, I was forcing myself to be more aware of when I was picking stuff up, but I didn't really feel I should needed to have done that. There's different currency called Defiance, which you collect while you're playing through a single run, which allows you to buy the upgrades that are available within the levels. The Defiance sort of points don't carry over into the next run unless you unlock a perk that lets you carry over some of those points you've got onto your next attempt. Now, there's been various sort of reviews saying that the people finish this in anywhere from 6 hours up to 12 hours. And finishing that means really going through the game 3 times, because the first time you go through it, which I've only gone through an entire first run, I'll tell you why in a minute, but I've gone through the entire game and finished the first run. The second and third run, it's the same thing again. It's just the difficulty increases and the story changes. You get more of the story, but the game is effectively the same. So they've taken difficulty levels and sort of padded out the length of the game by making it being required that you actually play through those difficulty levels if you want the whole story. I think just due to my choices and due to what appears to be a bit of a bug, I had a problem with the big sort of characters that spawn in. You get this big hulking dude with a minigun, and he's got armour on. And the first time I got to him, the armour's glowing, so I thought, I wonder if I can pull it off telekinetically, and nothing seemed to happen. So, okay, maybe it's not that. So I started shooting him, and eventually the armour got destroyed, and I could kill him easy enough. Later on in the game, really next towards the end, where I spent a good 2 to 3 hours at a sticking point, going back through to this same point and getting killed again and again and again by where there's 2 of them, 2 of these big guys, plus all the normal grunts as well. And I thought, how'd you kill him? I can't remove the armour. And in the last-ditch effort last night, I thought, I'll give it one more shot. And the first time you find one of these big guys is in an arena, and it's like, this is the first boss battle you get to. It's the only boss battle. There's no end boss. No. It's just a stream of bad guys get thrown at you towards the end of the game. But for some reason, on that last attempt I had, I got to the arena with the boss guy, and it says, to attack this guy, remove his armor using telekinesis. I thought, why has this tutorial tip suddenly shown up 5 to 6 hours into me playing this game? And I've been struggling to kill this guy because I assumed you couldn't pull the thing off because it didn't seem to work. Right. And all of a sudden, there's a tutorial tip pops up. Oh, right. Hours and hours later. So, you can sort of grab hold of his armour, and just pulling doesn't seem to do it. So you sort of pulling it with one hand, shooting it with the other, and then about 5 seconds later, the armour pops off, and it's like, wow, okay. And then I ran straight through to the end of the game, easily dealt with the other 2, where it spawns 2 of them at the same time, as well as other ones in between. Didn't have any problems then, and I finished my entire run. If it hadn't been for that, I'd have finished that first run in about 2.5 hours, as it was, because I was just struggling and didn't know what was going off there, and probably, again, poor choices on the upgrade tree. It was around about the 5-hour mark it took me to get to that. The big sort of the debate at the moment amongst people who've reviewed this is the price. It's 30 quid, $35, and the whole thing is it worth it given how short the game is? And it depends on your point of view of how short the game is, because if you're just going to go through that first run, then you could well finish this in 3 hours. Say finish it, go through and see really what all there is to see. There's nothing much new apart from any upgrades you unlock. So is it worth it? It's definitely worth playing, because, as I say, it makes you feel something like you've never felt in VR. It does really make you feel like a total nut of badass. Yeah. And it's absolutely worth playing. Whether it's worth that price, I think is up to you. Yes, a tentative yes from me. I think for a lot of people, it would have been a lot happier if this had been a 20 quid game like Fract was. Yeah. Because there's not enough difference. This is a problem. You're playing through the same thing again and again and again, and there's not much variation. There's 4 enemy types. The landscape, more or less, apart from a bit where there's some lava at one point, which does glow red. So again, that contrasts with the landscape, and it really does look cool. It just feels like it's missing out on more content, but you really should play it at some point, whether you buy it now at full price or wait for a sale. I mean, if it goes on sale for sort of like 20 quid or less, then I'd say definitely pick it up. It really does make you feel awesome those first few hours. That feeling of, because that can make or break a game a lot of the time as well, just how good it feels to play in certain places. Does that feeling wear off? Because I remember like Windlands 2, for example, this is just something that pops out at me. I love the way that game feels. And after you've played it for maybe 3 or 4 hours, you're about ready for the game to end there anyway. And that's about how long the game is. So it feels pretty good. But sometimes you can have this sensation of a game being really good to play, feeling really good. Does this carry it through to the end? Yes, to a degree. Nothing like that first initial. Probably the first after you've got your first lot of upgrades, or maybe a second lot of upgrades, because then you can like fling these soldiers about, and you can definitely feel the effect of those upgrades you're picking. That's one good thing about it, and it is a good skill tree. So yeah, it does really make you feel good, and I'm going to go back into it and I'm going to finish it. I think I've got about 70% of the trophies at the minute.
Right.
So I do want to platinum it, and there's sort of the end of your first run through. There is the story sort of makes you think, hang on a minute, this isn't as clear as you're initially being led to believe. So I sort of want to see what will happen, but I'm definitely going back in.
If nothing else, it's another game to put onto the list of stuff to make people want to pick up a PSVR 2, because you can't get this anywhere else, and that's one of the big things. At the minute, it's like I'm in the market for a PSVR 2. I'm saving up for a PS5. Next on the list is a PSVR 2, but I've got to wait until the stuff that I actually want to play, and this is at least one other thing on that stack of things that I want to play on the PSVR 2.
The one thing I will say about it though as well, there were a few bugs on more than one occasion. I was flinging the soldiers about and actually flung them into the geometry, literally inside a rock.
Right.
At one occasion they were a bit sticking out, on another they weren't, but I was still able to grab them, sort of waggle them about inside the geometry and kill them. The boss, call it the boss battle you first get to, one of the soldiers apparently disappeared and I didn't even know, and I killed the boss. I'm in an empty arena and the doors aren't opening up to let me progress, and I'm wondering what's going on. I don't understand. I'm flinging stuff about and what's going on, and then eventually I'm about to quit out and hear this like what? And if you look at your wrist, you do actually get a map, and there's a red dot, and there's obviously somebody stuck in the geometry, so I waved my hand about in various directions as I was looking over there, and eventually I hear this and he died, and then the doors opened. So that, it didn't block me in the end, but there are times where
some problems
where I think you can't see the soldiers because they've been they're in a rock somewhere.
What about you, Lee, on this? What like roguelikes in general? Roguelites?
I don't know, because I die a lot. So
that's what you're supposed to do in these.
I like roguelikes. You pick the pickups and you pick the upgrades as you get along, so you can get further in the game. But I've not really played them so much. I think I played a bit of. Was it Returnal, flat screen?
Oh, yeah.
Returnal?
Yeah, Returnal, yeah.
And that one was, quite got into that one a little bit. So maybe, it does seem quite good on the video that I'm watching. Mm-hmm. Plus, if you can be Darth Vader, then it's all.
Yeah.
Roguelikes and roguelites aren't my sort of thing either. But this one is, it's one of the better ones, definitely.
It's how it feels, though.
Yes.
It plays a big part in how you want to play these.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So that was Synapse anyway on PSVR 2. We've got a few little news stories to get into very briefly. The first one is Quest 3 listings appear on Best Buy, and it seems to confirm a few of the leaks that have been coming out over the past few months. So a single panel 120 Hz LCD display at 4128 by 2208, which gives a resolution of 2064 by 2208 per eye. And this lines up with some rumours that have been coming out anyway. So this looks pretty safe to say that this is probably the resolution and the refresh rate of the panel on the Quest 3. Not a lot to say about this one really, other than it's a slight increase, which is good. That 2208 is the highest resolution on any Meta headset so far. So it should look pretty good paired with those pancake lenses. Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm not able to afford one on launch, but just with it being a single panel, though, how does the... I want to ask a question there and be a total noob, and it's something that I should have researched before coming on. How does the IPD work with the single panel? On the Quest 2, you've got 3 stages where it's moving...
It moves the display.
Yeah. So...
I assume it's doing the same thing, just more on an analog kind of...
It
moves it more gradual.
With the original Quest, where it's got 2 panels on it, so it's just doing that. But I've always wondered about that. It's just me being a noob. Should have researched it better.
I think the problem is with the single panel is because you're moving the lenses across it. I think it must reserve some space to take that into account.
Yes.
So you are losing sort of
you're losing resolution probably on that, which is I think what they said even on the 3 settings on the Quest 2. I think they say that the panel is a certain resolution, but you can't utilise the whole of that resolution because it's reserved.
It moves at the point point, it moves where it's rendering the image on.
Yeah.
The panel.
So if you put it in the third place on the Quest, it's like you got like your horse with the blinkers on the side.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to me when you put it on that. So
Yeah. But, nice increase anyway. And I suppose if they're targeting 120 hertz on this one, I assume you're going to still be able to switch it down to the lower refresh rates as well. But
I'd assume so.
toggle, like
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the older games will be hard coded for certain resolutions, won't they? So if they're not patched, they need to be able to run at those other refresh rates. And in all honesty, 72 hertz for me for mobile on Quest is fine, because I'd rather take that. I'd rather take that lower refresh rate with better visuals or higher res visuals than lower res visuals but a higher frame rate.
I'm with you, especially on mobile. I'm with you on that. I like the high refresh rate if I can get it, but not at too much of a sacrifice of resolution. So I mean, I'm hoping that they'll still open it up for those low refresh rates as well. And also, if you're streaming PC VR content, having those other refresh rates is really valuable for optimizing PC content. So I'm sure they will, but that's presumably just the maximum refresh rate that this headset can do.
And we said before, pancake lenses, when you get these, when you pick up your Quest 3, it's definitely something when you first put them on, you'll never use your Quest 2 again. Yeah, looking forward to it. So the other thing is that Meta have announced a subscription service. I did read this. Let's get into it. So I'll just show a trailer of the Quest 3. I've not got anything else to show really. So this is £7.99 a month. $7.99 a month, or for a year you can get it for $60. You pay monthly, and then you will receive 2 games per month, and these have been announced. The July games are Pistol Whip and Pixel Ripped 1995, and then the August games you'll be getting are Walkabout Mini Golf and Mother Gunship Forge. And there's an offer at the minute as well where you can get the first month for just $1. So this is sort of been on the cards for a while. We've been hearing rumours about a possible subscription service, and it's been sort of portrayed as something similar to Netflix. This is not really like a Netflix kind of model at all. No. This is closer to PlayStation Plus, where you pay a subscription service and you get whatever they choose as the games per month, and you can download them. The problem with this kind of subscription service is that if you've already got the games in your library, then really you're paying for nothing. Whereas if you look at it on the alternate, where you've got hardly anything in your library, then this might actually be a pretty good deal. So for new people coming in, it might be a very good deal, but if you've got a substantial library already, it's probably not that great. So Rog, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally and utterly agree. This is not aimed at those of us who've had a Quest since launch, because we've probably got, I've got every game on that list on one platform or another. I think Pixel Rip 1995 I've got on Steam. So there's no value for me there. And a lot of people have been arguing about this on the forums and wherever again. Comparing it to sort of like to Game Pass or to PS Plus, and how much of a value, it's nowhere near as good as value with those services. Well, look, yes, you get a lot of games on those services, but those if you're all you are is a Quest 2 gamer, then those other services are meaningless to you. It's pointless. You should be looking at it from the value proposition of being a Quest gamer and not somebody who buys a lot of games normally. If you buy this, if you get this like $60 for a year, that's $2.50 a game, for goodness sake. That's a bargain. Okay, you only get those games while you keep that subscription. So if but for like the Pistol Whip and Pixel Ripped, you've got those for an entire year. Walkabout Mini Golf and Mother Gunship Forge, which are both multiplayer, aren't they? You've got those for 11 months for $2.50, and as well as all the other games that are going to come along for the rest of the year. $2.50 a game. Yeah. It's like, I know it's sort of a cliche to say it now, but how many people out there, especially on the Rendered Reality Coffee and VR Discord, how many people have spent more than double that on a coffee today? Yeah. So what if you don't keep it? If you don't normally buy many games, or you're a new Quest user, I think it's pretty decent value. Yeah. For me, it isn't, because I think I'm going to end up having probably most of the games what they announce anyway. But if I just bought a Quest 2, or if I knew somebody who just had bought a Quest 2, I'd be saying get this.
I'd say, yeah, I mean, personally, what I'd say is get it for, I don't know if I'd say get it for the year. I'd say get it for a month, maybe expand your library and see what you want, and then play it month by month, really, on that, because it depends a lot on the games that they're going to put in this. But, yeah, it's not for us, and it's not for anybody that's got even a half-decent library, in my opinion, anyway. But, Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, I just echo what Roger says, really. If you're new to VR and you've got your Quest 2 and you've not got the money to spend on all these games, I mean, it'd be nice if they, I suppose, if they're not going to list the entire games they're going to show for the year, but maybe if they had 4 games on, then you could pick 2 out of that. Because some of the games aren't going to be for everyone, do you know what I mean? So perhaps if they gave more option, or maybe there's something they'll do in the future, then that'd be a good thing.
I think that yeah, that's exactly it. There needs to be, say, a selection of 4 or 6 games maybe, and you pick the 2 you want to add to your library. Because as it is, I'm not subscribing because I've got the games.
Yeah.
You know, if there were games on there I didn't have, $60, $2.50. Yeah, fine, I'd do it. If you buy it monthly, that's what, 70. What you're saving? If you buy it for a year, you're saving $25-ish or something like that, $25.
Yeah,
so, you know, it's like just. It's worth doing. If you can't afford $2.50 a game for you know, or, well, $5 a month for a couple of games on your Quest, then what are you doing? What are you doing gaming? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't know. Is this coming over to the UK at launch?
I saw it on, I think when I loaded my Quest 2 up the last time I was on it, it actually popped up, because I think it was like 81 pence maybe.
Right.
Yes, I was about to say it was the offer was 81p.
Ah, okay. I've not got that.
I've not seen it actually appear in the thing, but I'm sure I've seen it announced somewhere.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. So we can check it out.
I can't confirm the price, but yeah, it was definitely 81 pence for that month in the UK. But
I mean, if it's your kids who've got the Quest, you know, you're a parent or something, then it seems a cheap way of getting them games.
It does. Yeah. It's not a bad price, but I completely agree with you. I think it would be better to, in order to get more people in anyway, to be interested in it, it would be better to have just a small selection per month that you can choose from. Yeah. It makes a lot more sense, because I'm simply not interested in, you know, these games that are here. Okay, I don't own Mother Gunship Forge, but the other ones I've already got. Yeah. There's no point in me getting it. And they're probably not targeting people like me already. We've put in a hell of a lot of money into the Quest stuff anyway. Yeah. But yeah, it's not a bad price, but it's just not going to be for everybody.
Go away. There's a spider trying to get my drink. Do you see it?
Yeah. I can only apologise, Lee. We're recording in my office at the minute, and I've planted several spiders around the room.
I don't like spiders.
Kill it with fire.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, let me...
Sorry about that.
We should have been recording that. Let's get on to the next thing anyway. So I've not got any footage for this one.
Because my goose.
So I've got to jump in there. The hairs on the back of his arm have literally stood up.
Lee doesn't like spiders.
It's literally like 0.5 of a millimetre big.
I couldn't even see it from across the room, and it's a small room.
I still feel like I'm a cobweb or something.
Oh God, we might have to stop the podcast here so they can take a shower. Right. Anyway, MetaConnect will be taking place. It's been announced formally now. I think we basically knew this date anyway. Didn't Zuckerberg say something at the gaming showcase, or not? Maybe not.
I honestly can't remember.
I can remember someone saying it's going to be 2 days.
Yeah. But anyway, it's September the 27th and 28th. And with more Quest 3 information being revealed, and probably a release, I would imagine.
It's not going to be long, is it? Especially with that Best Buy thing.
Was it September, mid-October, like 14?
Latest.
16?
I'd say 2 weeks after this event.
Pre-order it now.
Possibly, yeah.
At the conference.
They have done that with the Quest 2. They did a pre-order now as it was taking place. Said pre-orders are open, so maybe they'll do the same thing. That's exciting anyway. And then we had a little bit more news of this ongoing saga of Switchback VR. The update, the patch, in order to rectify all the problems that people have been having with it, they've put out a notice where they've delayed it a couple of weeks while it's checked and goes through certification. Maybe by the time we do the next episode it might be up anyway. But I don't know if you guys got anything to say on this one. What do you think?
Well, thank you for letting us know. Really, it's like at this point we've been waiting for it. that's the only thing. We just wanted to know what was happening. It got to the end of the month, which was when everybody was expecting it. They put a notice out. It's been delayed, but they've let everybody know. So fine, get it sorted, get it proper.
Yeah, it's just been delayed for like the testing, isn't it? Like you say, the certification. They've actually finished the patch, haven't they, from what I can see.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite a big one, but hopefully it'll fix Roger's issues and everybody else's, because I really like the game.
Yeah, it's just such a weird situation still. I know we've said it again and again, but yeah.
Can you imagine if they release it and then like Roger's like, yeah, it looks brilliant now, and then like everybody else was like, well, no, it don't look as good as what you used to.
But the you look at the PSVR subreddit as well. People on there are just not convinced there's different versions at all. They're convinced that basically they're just bullshitting, basically. I couldn't think of another alternative. Shall I bleep that out? Maybe I'm saying this.
They're definitely different. They wouldn't be releasing this patch for a start. If they
No. But anyway, so the topic of the show, we've got a section on the document, topic of the show. We've never really used it, so we're going to use it this week. And that is the Pimax Crystal. So, of course, Rog and Lee came round today, round my house, to try the Pimax Crystal, get some hands-on with it, and we'll get through some of their impressions as well. And we can talk about the hardware and some of the stuff that we've tried.
I think it's upset Roger a little bit, because it's... we quite liked it, and it's lots of money.
It was a bit of a surprise, because the thing is with Pimax, and I've tried a few of their headsets, and there's issues with software in the past, and there's issues with the hardware in places as well, and also people do have a lot of problems sometimes with the support, the level of support that they give. Sometimes people will say it's outstanding support, and I guess it's the same with Valve. You can have the same stories with Valve where people will say it's outstanding support, and then others will say I've had this problem and they're not sorting it out.
It's the same with Oculus. I've had nothing but brilliant support with them, but other people, they've been terrible.
I've not had the greatest time with Oculus.
So I mean, it's very, I don't know why, but it seems like a really divisive company, Pimax do. So and I don't know if anybody noticed last week, I did mention this earlier to you guys, but like in the last podcast, when I'd had the headset for around 24 hours, I was being very hesitant on what I was thinking about it, because I just wanted to be a bit reserved, because I thought, actually, this is incredibly clear and really good quality display, but at the same time, I was holding back for things that might possibly go wrong. By the time it got to the end of that weekend, I was pretty confident that this is a good headset, and some of the stuff that I was trying at that time was, incredible. I want to use the word stunning, in fact, to quote my last video. But anyway, we can get on to some other thoughts, but Lee, I'll go over to you first on this one. What did you think of the Pimax Crystal when you tried it?
It's so clear. We were trying to look for things, weren't we, Roger? Because the problem when we do this, I mean, and Gary probably knows as well, is as soon as you get a new headset, the first thing that, I do, probably more so now, is try and look for faults in it, try and see what's wrong with it, or the bits that I actually don't like about it. But unfortunately, or I say fortunately, I couldn't see anything wrong with the Crystal. It's the clearest display I have ever seen, even flying around in Gary's new favourite VR game, Aircar. It looks gaming so quotes, clear. The glass on the cockpit was that clear. The depth of it was really clever and really good. They've done that really well. The shading, it was quite impressed with it. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. I don't know about you, Rog, but
I mean, it's literally the best visuals I've ever seen.
It's kind of made us sad, because we have to go back to our Quest 2s.
I mean, stunning.
There's no screen door. I can't see any pixels. I can't see any mirror. I can't see. It's really. I won't say it's weird, but it's so good.
And go back to when I was trying Red Matter 2, and I think I went on about it a couple of times just when I was in the headset. There's something about the 3D-ness of the depth in how far you can make out how 3D things are. So we're like most headsets, you go so far into the distance and it starts to become flat.
Yeah.
This pushed it out further for me, and it was instantly noticeable. Say on the outside of where you first land on this sort of, I can't remember which you land on the station on Red Matter 2, and you can see Saturn's rings and everything. You've got the big double doors carved into the side of the asteroid, and as you look up to your right, there's there's another asteroid or two sort of floating at smaller ones floating out beyond that. And on my other headsets, all I could think of was I wouldn't be able to see the depth separation at that distance on any other headset. And on this, it was immediately noticeable. It's just, yeah. I mean, oh, God, I'm really annoyed I've tried it.
Well, I'll put them in air car first. So what were some of the things we tried? We tried air car because that, to me, that just completely blew me away. You can watch my video on that because it was ridiculous.
Because you can see everything, even though that far high up in the sky as such, you can see all the little flying things on the floor. And I was looking through the windows, or looking down the side, and you can see all the details. Yeah, it was just so.
There was air car. Then we went into what was next? What did we do next?
There was Red
Matter 2.
Red Matter 2, then Alex.
Half-Life Alex. Anything else? Was that it?
I can't remember.
But anyway,
I can't remember.
We tried a few different things, and one of the things I was saying to the guys when they first came out, and it's something I've hinted at or even directly said in some of my other videos as well, where I feel like it's still, to me, even now, I still feel like it's a great sim gaming seated headset. I don't personally. It's like if I had a Valve Index if I still had a Valve Index and I had a Pimax Crystal next to it, to play Half-Life Alyx, weird as it sounds, I would still go to the Valve Index. It is one of my favourite headsets
I
ever.
wouldn't. No, not even close.
No.
Not even close.
And I can understand that because the visuals in the Pimax Crystal are so much clearer than the Valve Index. And that's the one thing with the Valve Index. The resolution is too low. It's too low to really get into. And if I could do an A to B, maybe it would be different. But I still feel like maybe I would gravitate more towards the Valve Index for that particular experience. For something like Elite Dangerous, Air Car, Project Cars 2, there's no question I'm taking the Crystal. Every time. Like, that is not even close for me. But yeah, I need to maybe just try it a little bit more. And one of the things, actually, one of the interesting things that we tried today, because Rog, you were using your glasses, we had to use sort of move the facial interface away slightly from the lenses.
Yeah.
Now, when I did that, things changed for me because I've always had a slight issue on. It felt like the focal distance or something was slightly off, and I noticed it more when I was playing standing experiences than when I was seated. I had no problems in Air Car or Elite Dangerous, and yet when we moved that away and I put the headset on, it seemed to be completely resolved, and it was just, yeah, I mean, it was a great experience in there. And the other thing, the little side note on that as well, is the eye tracking. I finally got the eye tracking working because I was convinced it was something to do with me. I tried the eye tracking for the past couple of days, and I just couldn't get it to recognise certain parts of where I was looking on the display. So I thought, I'm going to put Lee in it, and he got it working straight away, and it was working fine. But the facial interface had been changed at that point, and I'm thinking maybe the facial interface was a little bit too close to the eye tracking module or something like that. It was interfering. And now I've got eye tracking set up, and it's working great, so I'm going to dive into that next week as well.
But yeah, when you first handed me the headset and I looked at it, before I even put it on my face, I thought, the way the padding is compared to where the lenses are, I thought my glasses aren't probably going to fit in here.
Yeah.
And I just put the headset up to my face and my glasses hit the lenses without even securing it.
Yeah.
So there was no room. But yeah, like what you did was sort of like take the interface off and sort of adjust where the Velcro was, so it sort of stuck out in the middle. There's a gap in the middle near the top. And I put that on, and that was fine. That gave room for my glasses then. But yeah, but it also seemed to make the eye tracking work. Because I think before, your eyes were too close to the lenses.
Yes.
And the eye tracking modules could not see your eyes properly.
But also, I honestly, I'm convinced that is why I was getting this weird... And it was such a slight little visual effect as well. It was barely worth mentioning, but it was just something that I've noticed. And by not having that anymore, it was great. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it now. You guys have sorted it out for me, to be honest.
I mean, the audio is something to mention as well.
Yes.
The audio is so good on it. They're over the head speakers, aren't they? Over the side of like the Index, and you can't hear them when you're. I mean, I was still talking to Gary while Roger's in it, and I thought, is it? We even asked, didn't we, if it's working? Can you hear it?
I could hear it slightly on some of the stuff when you were playing it, but very slight.
And it was definitely made more for the immersion, especially on Red Matter 2 when the woman's speaking in the cockpit type thing, and she's telling you things. I thought, oh, it sounds like it's all around me. It sounded really good.
What did you guys think of the comfort? Because this is a big sort of talking point on this headset.
The problem is we're not sat here for 2 hours wearing it. But from an initial point of view, it seemed fine. I don't think I had any issues. The only thing I would say about it, and this is one of the reasons I didn't like the Index either, I can feel the sway from the front of the headset. Yeah. Because the front of the headset is bulky. You turn your head and you can feel that inertia. I mean, you pretty much can with most headsets, in all honesty, because you've got a brick on the front of your face. But with that, it was definitely noticeable. The other thing worth mentioning is probably the controllers as well, which basically seem like Rift S controller knockoffs. Absolutely,
very similar. Yeah,
allegedly.
We've not used them enough, but there didn't seem to be any problem with it. I never noticed any tracking issues.
No,
the only thing I would say was there was a slight lag on Alex. If I moved my hands. Yeah. I could just see it was slightly lagging behind. It wasn't as sharp as other headsets, so that would be something to be aware of. But do you know what? Just the sheer quality of that display, I'd live with it.
Yeah.
Plus, like the displays as well. It's not like binocular when you look through it, is it? It's like I said, it's like a diving mask. Perhaps you've got on your face. It's kind of like a rectangle with slightly curved.
It's a different shape to other headsets, isn't it? It is very much does look like a rectangle, but with the corners rounded off. It's very odd. It's not distracting though. I didn't find it distracting.
No, I didn't know.
No,
I mean there was no glare.
What did you think? No, that's the big thing as well. Yeah, I keep forgetting to mention this in my coverage of this, but there's no glare on these lenses, which is a massive deal, especially in certain games. But yeah, I mean the lenses are fantastic. One of the things I told both of you actually when we started it was sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to find the sweet spot because it's got really good edge-to-edge clarity. It can be difficult to know if you're actually in the sweet spot or not. But you will know after a while of using it because you'll get certain things that just don't quite feel right.
I think that's what I struggled with a little bit because when you alter the IPD, you don't really notice any differences whatsoever. No. So it's hard to judge. So sometimes you might need to move it a little bit less or a little bit more. But like Gary says, you can notice when you're moving around and moving your head. You will see it. But yeah, I couldn't see no screen door, no pixels. It was the clearest. Yeah, I mean, we thought they were OLEDs, didn't we?
If somebody had given me that headset and said, "What panel do you think it is?" I'd have said, "Oh, it's an OLED."
Yeah,
the colours are that good. I can see when I watch
the black levels are
his
fantastic.
Video, I can see totally why he was raving about it because it does. I will agree with him there.
I think that air car shows it off really well because it's got black levels and then it's also got these really vibrant colours as well, which makes a difference. And especially, I mean, I'm just trying to think back because it's very difficult. I mean, coming from a Quest 2, you don't get those kinds of colours anyway in a Quest 2. No. But if I had one of the older OLED kind of displays like the Rift CV1 or something like that, and you could do directly from it, I don't think I'd notice too much of a difference. And it's a really bright screen. I said to you guys, when you go into Project Cars 2 and you've got that Bandai logo at the beginning, it's got that white background, it's a very bright display.
It was very bright when I was doing the eye tracking, you could tell how bright it was.
And the other thing that we touched on with that binocular feeling and the field of view and stuff, this has got a really good binocular overlap as well. It's got a really high percentage. It seems like it has. I don't know if you can get some software to actually measure it, but you can sort of detect it. If you close one eye or the other, you can see how much crossover you've got. And this has got a really high binocular overlap, which helps for just feeling comfortable.
So maybe it's that coupled with the resolution what's just giving me that, I'll say, that feeling that I can see 3D at a greater distance than any other headset I've tried.
So. It looked so clear. I mean, it was just the shape of it. It just looked like one piece, didn't it? Like you're looking through one piece of glass, not two. Not two lenses. And
not even really looking through much in stuff, because even with PSVR 2 with the Red Matter 2, it would be one of my favourite visual experiences I've ever had in VR because it just looks so good. It really does look so good. Then you put this on and you think, This is a step up again. So it's getting towards that 3K by 3K display up towards there. I think it's it's a tipping point for clarity. And we were talking about this earlier on, but I was saying no wonder if people have been massively impressed at the Apple demo. If that's using 3 by 3K sort of screens, that's why, because there's a difference. There's a difference over 2 by 2. Obviously there is a difference. But when you see it, it's like, there's a level of, and it's like in my air car video where I'm trying to look for
aliasing or pixels, individual pixels,
Yeah.
and I'm not convinced I can see pixels, and then I'm also not convinced that I can't. But you guys seem to
See anything now. When we loaded Alex first up, I was like moving my head slightly, trying to see if I could see if I could catch it out as such. But no, I couldn't find anything.
I think up to this point, I've always said before that I'd happily take sort of like 2K by 2K headsets now, or that the DPI that gives you. Yeah. But then take that same DPI, but extend the field of view. I'd want a wider field of view rather than a higher resolution headset that's still at this sort of 110 degrees ish, whatever.
Yeah.
I think this has changed my mind because it's just so clear.
I mean, the only slight thing that I did not put it up on as such, but I said it could do with slightly more FOV if it just increased just a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it's still bigger than the Quest 2. So
oh yeah, easily.
I think so. And the thing is, I honestly believe that field of view is really subjective from person to person, and it's really difficult. I'm going to go into the software, because you can get some software that will allow you to measure the field of view and stuff for what I experience. But I do think that it varies so wildly that I always try to just compare it to other headsets. So I've said that this, to me, it feels very similar to Index, this field of view. Some people will say it's slower than Index, but it's certainly bigger than the Quest 2. Somewhere between Quest 2 and closer to Index.
Maybe it's more PSVR 2 sort of level,
maybe
I
that.
think,
Yeah. But to me, it's good enough. The problem is Pimax taking this kind of route. A lot of people that have gone with Pimax headsets in the past is to get that massive field of view. And actually some of the comments on my videos have been saying, what's the field of view? Is it as good as an 8KX? And no, it's not. It's nowhere near as good as an 8KX in terms of field of view. But to me, I'm willing to take that. I want that clarity, and it's like you, Rog. I think it's changed my mind as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's I wouldn't have thought it would have done, but it definitely has.
I mean, if you're a big racer like Max into his racing games, and I can imagine him playing F1 23 with one of these headsets on, it's going to look fantastic.
Yeah, if you can get a 6090, but. But no, actually, because the eye tracking, hopefully, because they are having dynamic foveated rendering included, I need to look into the details of that as well, because I don't know if it's certain. I don't think it's I think that there is OpenXR integration with it as well, but I don't know if that's widely available yet in order to apply it to a load of different titles. So I need to look into that a little bit more.
They keep updating it from what you've shown us, the software, and they keep updating that side quite a lot, don't they? And and releasing patches and stuff. So yeah, I just wish they'd just take the time and get something proper right, and then instead of releasing 5 or 6 things, or it's kind of like shoved through the back door a little bit, and then we've got TalkX coming, and we've got this and we've got that, and it's just concentrate on this, get people behind it. I'm totally behind it, and then it'll come. The sales will come.
Yeah. I think focus on this headset. This is the one they should focus on. And really knuckle down. And instead of, because we've got this portal, the Pimax portal thing coming out, I honestly haven't really got any interest in that particular one myself. And I don't know that many people who have really, but they can do what they want to do. But I would just really love them to, like you, Lee, focus on one headset, and this should be the one, because this is the best headset from Pimax I've used.
It is. I mean, this is the only headset from Pimax I've ever used, and I don't really follow along with it, but I've seen all the stuff in the past and people moaning and complaining about stuff, and it's like, I don't think I'd ever buy a Pimax. If I had the money and I had the machine to run it, I'd be thinking, oh no, I need to spend $1,600 because
I mean, this runs really well, don't it, on Gary's 3080 anyway, but if you go 4090 and you've got the funds, it'll be something else.
I will say there's limits. I think Microsoft Flight Simulator is it's going to struggle. I have been in, but I need to really dive into that, and it's going to take me a while to get that to a point where I'm happy with it in the Pimax Crystal. But I mean, a lot of flight simmers are going to have high-end GPUs anyway, because Microsoft Flight Simulator needs that. But yeah, I'll make some videos on that.
I mean, the text as well, like Roger reading a paper in Half-Life Alex, and you can just pick the paper up.
I pick the paper up and put it at put it at arm's length, and it's like, that's just readable. It just looks so good.
So good. There's no halation around any of the letters from what I could see. I can't.
Yeah, I think if you've ordered one of these and you're still wondering whether you're going to like it or not, I think you don't need to worry.
Yeah, I think one thing to mention as well, which I've not mentioned enough in my videos, is the chromatic aberration. You might not have seen it actually in the stuff that we tried today, but it's there without question, especially if you go into something like Steam VR, the Steam VR menu, you'll see it around the edge really, really clearly. The most clear I've ever seen in any VR headset. Maybe that's because of the resolution and stuff. But yeah, there's definite chromatic aberration, but it's something that they can correct with software updates and things. So that's something to keep in mind if you're sensitive to it.
But if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like tinging around the edges of things.
The red, green, and blue basically separates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't notice anything like that. I mean, I'm not very sensitive to small distortions, in all honesty, so I'm not the best person to comment on stuff like that. I mean, to me, it just looked.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I'm only mentioning it because I know people are sensitive to that, but I'm not particularly sensitive to that either myself, really. So, so that's Pimax Crystal. Anyway, so that was the old point of these guys coming down here today. And also I'll quickly mention this actually, I did try the Tilt 5 because Rog brought that down for me to try, so I might as well, I've not got any video for it, but so I went into the Tilt 5, and Roger's if you have listened to this podcast for a long time going back, then you'll know that Rog is not a massive fan of it. He was Kickstarter backer, got his unit, and go back and listen to some of those podcasts where he's been discussing it before. And he made this. I was expecting it to be a blurry mess and a complete nightmare. I thought it was pretty good for what it is. Actually, I quite enjoyed it. And I was only at 10 minutes, if that, something like that. So I've not had I played a few little of these mini games, and it is low resolution. It's not like the highest resolution thing or anything like that, but it was good enough. And yeah. It's the little demos that we downloaded were pretty fun, but they're little mobile games really. I wouldn't buy one. I mean, I think that's the takeaway. I wouldn't buy one, but I'm glad I tried it.
I've shown this to a fair few amount of people now. Nobody wants to buy one. No. I think that's the problem. It's like any VR experience you can buy off the shelf now will give you a vastly more impressive experience.
Yeah, I think there's an element of having it in your room in that way. But when I looked away briefly as well, it takes a while to recognise the board again. So I think that's a little bit of a disappointment from my point of view, because you think you've got these AR glasses, it gives you the ability to look around your room if you need to glance away or something like that. But when you do that,
it just stops rendering altogether. It stops rendering the game, and it's like it did that when it first launched, and I thought they'd have altered the timing on it. At least give you like 5 or 10 seconds where you can look away and then come back. But no, it's
I didn't dislike it, but like I say, I wouldn't purchase one.
Well, I mean, I set the bar so drastically low.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I was expecting it to be pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting at all. And actually, the 3D effects and stuff with the board, and some stuff was coming out, some stuff was going deeper into the board. I thought it looked okay. It was serviceable, but it's not the highest.
The thing is, if you're ever going to describe something as a dev kit that shouldn't be a commercial unit, I think this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said before, isn't it?
It's the DK1 or 2 in it
than anything else. But it's just like with pass-through and on the Quest 3 and how good that's allegedly supposed to be, especially with Demio, what we've seen on the trailer. If it looks as good as that, I don't know really what how the Tilt 5 is going to do with things like that.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can think of that could put it in a different realm, because obviously you need how much is we just still don't know. We didn't check on how much the Tilt 5 is, but I was just thinking, because you need they do a package of 2 or 3 glasses, and if that's cheaper than say 2 or 3 Quest 3s or something like that, which it is, I know it is cheaper than that. That's the only thing. If you want to gather around a table, a family, in order to play something, maybe that's where it's got a slight advantage. But even then, you're limited by the content that's on there. So. Tilt 5, I didn't think it was bad at all anyway, so right, this is going to be a shorter show. I was expecting us to go on a little bit longer, but purposefully we did keep the show notes relatively
It is getting
short.
warm though. I'm close to
we're in my
pants here.
we're in my little office, and Lee's getting smothered by spiders.
Yeah, attacked by spiders, and
it's getting a little bit hotter. So yeah, we did plan on keeping it a little bit shorter. But let's finish off on these few little bits that we've got. So there is a Steam sale on at the moment, and some of the things that are popping out to us that are great in VR. Actually, looking down this little list, we've only got 4 titles here, but they're all ports from flat games.
Yeah.
So Hellblade Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice is £3.74 at the moment.
Great game.
Yeah, it is a good game.
Fantastic in VR, yeah.
Great in VR. And that has got a really good feature where you can change the scale of it as well.
Yeah.
So it can look like you're playing on a little board, or you can look like you're actually behind her full size as you're playing through the game. And I love that aspect of it. Payday 2 VR, 89p at the moment. Not my kind of game, but it's a good game. I mean, there's a lot of people that really like that.
Yeah.
89p, just get it. Subnautica, fantastic. I need to get back into that.
Yeah,
one.
the patches there's been loads and so many patches out since I ever first tried it. I think
Yeah.
it's supposed to run a lot better now. There's like VR performance patches and stuff in there. And,
Yeah, it's been a VR game for a long time.
Yeah.
That has. £8.24 at the moment.
If you
Subnautica.
download, like, there's a VR mod. Is it on, like,
Yeah.
X or something like that?
Yeah.
It enhances it as well.
Yeah, I mean, underwater game as well. That might actually sort of like set me on edge a bit.
It's really good flat screen. I can remember playing it years ago. And I think I bought it for like £6 in alpha.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
wasn't even a story to it then.
No.
And how they went with the story on it is very, very clever. So
Yeah.
definitely worth picking up.
It's been one I've been meaning to get back to for a long time, because I've played a couple of hours of it, maybe not even that long, but I've been in, and it's got really nice environments.
Yeah.
And it's also got like native VR implementation. You don't need the mod to play it in VR, but I think the mod does add some extra VR mechanics, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's a tablet things and sizes and
it's supposed to fix some of the things that didn't quite work well,
Yeah.
and sort of like sort some performance issues out as well.
Yeah. And then the last one on the list is Dirt Rally 2.0, £3.59 at the moment. To me, this is a must-buy if you're even vaguely interested in racing.
Still one of the best racing games in VR, and it actually plays really well on a joypad.
Yes, yeah, it does, yeah. And also you can get... I mean, it is quite demanding on your PC, but you can get good performance with this game because it's got nice and consistent performance as well. So once you've got the settings dialed in, you should be able to run it at native frame rates.
Yeah.
And then what's this little thing that's been added on here?
Right, yes. There's been the Upload VR Humble Bundle that was announced along with the showcase, which basically gives you both Saints and Sinners games, Pistol Whip, Mass Maker, Green Hell VR, Dragon Fist Kung Fu, and Warhammer Age of Sigmar. It's £25 for all those games, pretty much an utter bargain. Still a couple of days left on it. Ends sometime around midnight on Monday UK time.
I did actually pick that up as well because I'm being such a pro gamer that I've actually got none of those games on.
Really?
No, I've not even played Saints and Sinners and things like that.
Yeah.
So
it's worth it just for Saints and Sinners games alone. Never mind everything else you're getting.
Yeah. It's a good bundle. So check that out. And that's pretty much it for this week. We can wrap up there. Hopefully we'll have some more stuff. We did. I think there's still a few games actually we need to get to.
Yeah.
There's one that I want to get to at some point, and I've promised the dev that we need to go into together, which is Rooms of Realities.
Yeah.
Escape Room.
Right.
Yeah, the escape
Okay.
room thing, yeah.
So I do want to get into that because it looks pretty interesting, and we can all get into that together at some point as well. So we'll see.
If this heat does one, because apparently it's supposed to be red hot again.
That's true.
Okay, 40 degrees.
Yeah, that's the problem. We can't have. We're recording here with 3 separate mics, and I've got loads of fans, but
Can't put them on.
Can't put them on.
Up.
That's it. Tins of cider on the floor and everything.
That's it. Yeah. Right. Well, I guess we can leave it there anyway. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for the next episode. Thanks for joining us. Any last words?
Not really. I was going to have a bit of a moan. I went to Asda the other day talking about having things to drink. It's the first time I've bought a bottle of pop in literally probably years. I just don't drink pop. Not for a health thing or anything. I've just not got as much of a sweet tooth as I used to have when I was little. And I bought a bottle of Dr. Pepper. Oh, it's not nice and hot. Have a nice... I couldn't get the bloody top off. It's like, what has happened? It's literally like a millimetre high.
Yes.
It's like, and I couldn't get a grip. I had to get the bloody nutcrackers out to get a grip on the top. to open the thing, it's like, what's happened there? It's like, okay, they're trying to save plastic, but not the expensive usability.
You would think, I've noticed that, them tops getting thinner and thinner.
Tiny.
And you think, how much plastic are they saving from that? Then again, they sell a lot of bottles.
Have you not seen the ones where now they've got lids and you unscrew the lid and it's got like little hinges on the back and you can't take the top of the pop bottle off?
Yeah.
And so you're struggling and it like sit in the back of that and the pop's going everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're annoying me as well. Anyway, have a great time, everybody.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care.
It's the pressure. Pressure just gets to me. Hello, welcome to Recentered, episode 20.